Hello students, we are going to start with EVS Unit 7 Experiments with Water. In this chapter it is telling that what are the experiments which are done with water and what we know from that experiment. So let's see the chapter. What floats, what sinks. Floats means anything which when we put in the water it comes upside, and sink means anything which we put in the water it goes inside the water, under the water. So Aisha was waiting for dinner. Today Ammi was making her favorite food, puri and spicy potatoes. So it is the favorite food of most of the children. Sub Puri and spicy potatoes, puri and potato sabzi. So Aisha's mother was making for her favorite food and she was waiting for dinner. Aisha watched as her mother rolled out the puri and put it in the hot oil. She saw that at first the puri sank to the bottom of the pan. As it puffed up, the puri came up and started floating on the oil. So Aisha was waiting and she was seeing her mother, that how her mother was making puri. So she saw that her mother rolled out the puri and put it in the hot oil. When we are making puri, we are putting that puri in the hot oil. So she saw that at first the puri sank means it goes under the oil, it goes inside the oil, and when the puri puffed up, the puri came up. The puri automatically came up. So she was watching that the puri started floating on the oil. One puri did not puff up and did not float like the others. On seeing this, Aisha took some duff and rolled it into a ball. She flinted it and put it in a bowl of water. Alas, it sank to the bottom and stayed there. So one puri, all the puri was puffed, all the puri came up on the oil, but one puri did not came. So Aisha was thinking that why this thing has happened. So she did an experiment. She took duff and rolled it in a boil, in a and rolled it into a ball. Then she put that ball into a bowl of water. But what she has observed that that ball did not come up. It remained in the water. It sank in the water. So now think what would have happened if Aisha put a puffed puri in a bowl of water. Would it sink or float? So it is telling that you have to think that if Aisha had put a puffed puri in a bowl of water, would it sink or float? Puffed puri, so would it sink or float? You have to think that. You put a steel plate on water, would it sink or float? What would happen to a spoon? So you have to do this. You have to put a plate, steel plate or spoon, and see that it sink or it float. Would the cap of a plastic bottle sink or float on water? So cap of a plastic bottle, so you have to see that it sink or float on the water. See, in the evening Aisha went for a bath. She had just come out when her mother called, Aisha, you have dropped the soap in the water again. Take it out and put it in the soap case. Aisha was in a hurry and the soap case fell. So in the evening Aisha went for a bath. uh, Generally there is the habit of many people that in the evening they go for a bath. So when Aisha came out, her mother told that you again dropped the soap in the water. You have dropped the soap in the water. Now take it out and keep it in the soap case where we keep the soap. So take it and keep it in the soap case. So Aisha was in a hurry and the soap case fell out of her hands. So she was in a hurry, so soap case also fell out from her hands. It started floating on water. So soap case started floating. In the picture you can see that it is floating on water. Aisha gently put the soap in the soap case. She saw that the case continued to float even with the soap in it. So now she think that I put soap in the soap case. The soap was in the water and the case which fell from his hand was also in the water. So soap case started floating. So she saw that, and she put the soap upon the soap case, and the soap case continued to float. It did not sink. Now, have you seen that some things float on water while others sink? Think how this happens. The poem here raises such questions. So you have to think that which things float on the water and which things sink. So here there is a poem also. Why, oh why, a wooden boat in water will float, but a needle will sink? Why does this happen? Let me think. So it is telling that, see, wooden boat floats on the river. In the water, wooden boat flows. But when we are keeping any thin needle, so it sinks in the water. So the poem is telling that why these things happens. An iron ship will also float, though it's much heavier than my boat. So it is telling that iron ship will also float, but our boat is of paper, so paper will not remain much time in water. Paper boat will not remain much time in water. But a needle, light as a leaf, thin as a pin, will sink right in. So it is telling that boat is much heavy, boat ship is much heavy, but then also it is floating. But needle is so thin, but it sinks in the water. So the poem is thinking that why this happens. Now see, do this and find out. Do this experiment in groups of 4 friends. Each group will need a big pot filled with water and the things listed in the table. So you have to do these experiments. You have to bring the list of the things which are written in the table, and you have to observe that what thing is going to happen. Now see, mark right for the things that float, mark wrong for for those that sink. So you have to bring the things which are written here: empty bowl, after putting in 6-7 small pebbles, iron nail or pin, iron pin, matchsticks. You have to bring all these things, and you have to see. I guessed before I did it. Means when you are bringing an empty bowl, you are guessing that it will float or sink. But after you did experiment, what you have observed, you have to write that. So do this experiment: soap cake, a piece of ice. Bring all these things and do these experiments, and after doing this you have to write it. Now see, is it magic? When Aisha woke up in the morning, Ammi had fever. Abbu made some tea and went to give medicines to Ammi. He told Aisha, you boil eggs, also put some salt in the water. So one day when Aisha woke up in the morning, when Aisha get up in the morning, she, her mother had fever. So what her Abbu told, Abu made some tea and went to give medicines to her mother. And Abu, her father, told Aisha, you boil eggs and also put some salt in the water. So Aisha took water in pot. By mistake, she put too much salt in the water. She saw the eggs at the bottom of the pot come up a little and start to float in water. So see, when she was making this boiling eggs, she put the egg and by mistake she add more salt in it. And what she observed that the eggs are coming up, they are floating in the water. Now take some water in a glass, put a lemon in it. Now keep putting salt in the water, half a spoon at a time. Were you able to float your lemon in water? So you have to try this. You have to take a glass of water and you have to put lemon in it. Now you have to add salt, half a spoon salt, and you have to observe that lemon is coming up, lemon is floating or not. What do you think? The lemon floated in salty water, because so lemon will float in salty water, because you have to give the reason. Now see, Dead Sea. All ocean and seas have salty water. The saltiest of all is the Dead Sea. So it is telling that all the ocean and seas have salt in their water, and the saltiest of all is Dead Sea. How salty? Imagine 300 grams of salt in 1 liter of water. So it is telling that in 1 liter of water there will be 300 grams of salt. So would you be able to even taste such salty water? It would be very bitter. Interestingly, even if a person does not know how to swim, she would not drown in this sea. She will float in water as if lying down on it. Remember the lemon you floated in salty water? So it is telling that in salty water, whenever you are in salty water, the things will not sink you. When any person going in the ocean or sea, it is telling that it has 300 grams of salt in 1 liter of water. In the picture you can see the person, the man is floating in the river. So it is telling that the person will float like the person is sleeping in salty water. Now say, what dissolved, what did not? On Sunday, Aisha's cousin brother Hamid came to her house to play. So it is telling that it was Sunday and Aisha's cousin brother was Hamid. So Hamid came to Aisha's house to play. As soon as he came, he asked his aunt to make his favorite sakkar para, a sweet dish. So he asked Aisha's mother to make sakkar para. It was his favorite dish. So his aunt means Aisha's mother. So he is telling Aisha's mother to make sakkar para, his favorite dish. Ammi said, let me come back from the market, then I will make some for you. Why don't you help me? Take 2 glasses of water and put a bowl of sugar in it. Mix it till it dissolves. Hamid thought, let me finish this work fast and then I will watch TV. So Ammi said, Ammi is whom? Aisha's mother. So Aisha's mother said that I will make sakkar para for you, but first I am going to market and then I will come and make it for you. Now Aisha's mother is telling to Hamid that you help me by what you have to do. You have to take two glasses of water and a bowl of sugar in it, and you have to add the bowl of sugar in it, and then you have to mix it so that water dissolves sugar. We know that sugar, salt, all these things are dissolved by water. So Aisha's mother is telling that you have to mix it well till water dissolves that sugar. Hamid thought, let me finish this work fast, then I will watch TV. So what Hamid thought? Hamid thought that let me finish this work very fast. I have to finish this work fast, then I will watch TV. Suggest some ways to Hamid for quickly dissolving sugar. So it is telling that you have to give some idea to Hamid so that it can dissolve quickly sugar. So which are the ways? We can use mixture or blender. We can also boil water so that it will dissolve faster. So there are some of the ways. Now see, do this experiment. Make groups of 4 friends. For the experiment you will need 4-5 glasses of bowls, spoons, water and the things listed in the table. So you have to do this experiment by group of 4 friends. You have to take 4-5 glasses or bowls, spoons, water, and you have to do this. Now you have to see that salt, soil, chalk powder, it dissolved in the water or not, and what happened when you keep 2 minutes in water. Now see, while doing the experiment, Aisha and Hamid had an argument. Aisha felt that after stirring it, the oil dissolved in water. Hamid did not agree. He said, look, the tiny yellow oil drops can still be seen in the water. Aisha said, let's wait for some time and then see. Do you think the oil get dissolved in the water? Why do you think so? So it is telling that there was an argument between Aisha and Hamid. Aisha is telling that the oil dissolved in water. Aisha is telling that oil get dissolved in water, and Hamid is telling that it does not dissolve. There are yellow oil drops can be still. Hamid is telling that oil does not get dissolved, and Aisha is telling that it get dissolved in the water. And see, Aisha said, let's wait for some time and then see what happens. So see, racing drops. Aisha put 2 drops of oil on the lid of her tiffin box. So that is the picture you can see. She put 2 drops of oil on her tiffin box. Next to that, she put 2 drops of water and 2 drops of sugar solution. She titled the lid. She saw some drops slide come quickly while some were left behind. So she was doing this activity. She saw that some drops was coming down quickly and some was not coming. Some was coming slow. Now see, this is the Dandi March. This incident took place in 1930 before India became independent. You all have must heard about Dandi March, that it took place in 1930. For many years, Britishers had made a law that did not allow people to make salt themselves. They had also put a heavy tax on salt. So Britishers were not allowing to Indians, to our people, to make salt, and they have put a tax on salt. So by this law, people could not make salt even for use at home. How can anybody live without salt? See, in everything we need salt. For cooking and everything we need salt. So how can people live without salt? So what Gandhiji said, how can a law not allow us to use freely what nature has given? Gandhiji with several other people went on a yatra from Ahmedabad to the Dandi seashore in Gujarat to protest against this law. So Gandhiji with other people made a protest and went to a yatra from Ahmedabad to the Dandi seashore in Gujarat. Do you know how salt is made? The sea water is collected in shallow beds dug in the sand. Water is allowed to dry in the sun. After the water dries, the salt remains on the ground. So it is telling that how the salt is made. The water is collected in shallow beds. Water is collected and then it is kept in the sun to dry, and then the water dries and the salt remains on the ground.